Hello again, and welcome to the Fantasy Sultans. I'm Tripp Rogers. He's the Hall of Famer Mike Scheck. It has been a while since we have been together. Actually, it was April, just before the draft, was the last time we got together and talked to you about fantasy football. But you know something? Fantasy Sultans never have an off season. However, Fantasy Sultans did squeeze a 2-day trip into South Carolina to Myrtle Beach, land of sun, fun. We broke some bread, drank some drinks, and we'll talk about that later. Moving onward and upward. It has been a while since we have talked, Mike, and I think as we get ready now, the games begin in earnest for the games begin this weekend, the preseason games. Since we last talked, I mean, obviously, Mendoza went number one. I don't know if there were any real surprises in the draft per se. But let's talk about some of the other moves that were made. And of course, one of them was in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers comes back once again. He's going to do it with Mike McCarthy. They're going to try again. And Aaron Rodgers says this is going to be his last season.
Yeah. Okay. We've heard that before. But hey, who knows? Because, we thought it was going to be his swan song last year. He decides to come back. He will play again with Mike McCarthy. And those two had an interesting combo in Green Bay, and it worked out well for them. We'll see what happens here. But again, it's Mike McCarthy to get his feet wet back into coaching. So we'll see what happens there. It might be an interesting season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers does not hang it up at the end of the season and says, maybe I want to try one more year, but we'll see what
Yeah,
happens. We'll see
agreed.
what happens.
Agreed.
Another interesting move. How about Kyler Murray becoming the starting quarterback in Minnesota this week? That was announced. I think that says a lot about J.J. McCarthy. I mean, talk about a career for him to start. I mean, he gets injured, comes back, plays last year, has a monster game in week one, kind of up and down, not much to be expected out of him. He had his mistakes and whatnot. And then, of course, he got injured again. So, Vikings, I don't know. Are they putting a lot of stock in McCarthy? I'm not so sure. We're going to have to see how this plays out with Kyler Murray, too, because a lot of experts are predicting a resurgence out of him. I don't know if it's going to happen. He's a boom or bust player that may or may not be on my list. We'll talk about him maybe in just a little bit here on our Sultans podcast
The
for the
other part of it,
preseason.
but
Yeah,
Mike, the other part of it, though, when they signed Kyler Murray, it's a 1 year deal. I
right.
mean, they signed him as a free agent, and I think you knew Kyler Murray was probably going to be the guy who was going to start. The problem here with Kevin O'Connell is O'Connell, if you want to say he's a quarterback whisperer, you look at what he did with Sam Darnold, and then they let Darnold walk, go to Seattle, and what did Darnold do? Oh, won a Super Bowl. Uh, had an MVP type year. They went with J.J. McCarthy, and McCarthy, again, I don't know if I was sold on J.J. McCarthy when he came out of Michigan. Okay. That's the thing. I don't think he was as good as the Vikings drafted him 10. And giving him the keys to the car may have been a mistake. Now, the question is going to be, how does McCarthy react to this? And word out of Minnesota is he's not happy with being the backup. He doesn't want to be number two. Now, odds are he's going to play. Kyler Murray cannot stay on the field. He's an injury. He could be injured.
Yeah.
And I think JJ McCarthy, I mean, he's on his rookie contract. So what is it? 6.5 million, 6.7 million. I don't know. We get a couple weeks down the road. If a team needs a seasoned quarterback, could they trade for a JJ McCarthy? Because you've also got Carson Wentz, Max Brolsmer still with Minnesota. They're not carrying four quarterbacks. I don't even think they're going to carry three. If they carry three, it'll be Brosmer. I mean, obviously, I think Carson Wentz is the odd man out in this rotation. But again, a quarterback that has experience. And in the NFL, you need two really good quarterbacks. And if you don't believe me, just ask the Cincinnati Bengals, because they got Joe Flacco last year. Well, the Bengals didn't do great, but it still wasn't that bad. And it
Yeah.
wasn't, and for fantasy fans, I mean, Jamar Chase had a decent year. I mean, Chase Brown had a good year. T. Higgins was okay. So again, you got to have that second quarterback. So I don't know what they're going to do, but The other part of this equation, though, Kevin McConnell, the Vikings, since Darnold really had 17 really good games and had two really bad ones 2 years ago. And unfortunately, they were the last two games of the season in which they played Detroit twice, lost both games, went out of the playoffs, and they let Darnold go. So the question was, and we were saying that last year, when were we going to see the Sam Darnold we had known and loved with the New York Jets, with the Carolina Panthers, and, with the Minnesota Vikings at the end of the season? So I think it's interesting. There's a dilemma in Pittsburgh. Dilemma in Pittsburgh, yeah. Dilemma in Minnesota. We'll see what happens with that. If we want to just take a look at some other things, Carolina, they were in the Hall of Fame game. Any thoughts on that game, Mike?
Well, I think we saw Haynes King with a performance. He was the third string quarterback behind Kenny Pickett. We'll see what happens there. I certainly think that he came up with a hamstring injury, so Carolina kind of making some decisions there. We hear this past week Dave Canales may use Haynes King in a Taysom Hill type of situation that we saw in New Orleans with Taysom Hill. So that should be interesting. But, not much, we didn't see it. This week we'll see some starters out there. They're not going to play for long. But in most of the games this week, they will play a series or two, and then we'll start to see the starters a little bit more. But speaking of Carolina, Jonathan Brooks is another running back who is very intriguing, and we'll talk about him, if not this week, in the next show about players to definitely watch. He's intriguing only because of the factor of he brings a lot of durability and strength to the table in Carolina. He's that running back that Carolina is looking for, being that they moved on from Rico Dowdle. So, two ACL tears back to back. Should have to see what happens in his third season. Technically, this is his rookie year, but, I definitely think we're going to see that. How about A.J. Brown in New England? He moves on from Philadelphia to go to the New England Patriots, gives another weapon to Drake May. I think that's going to be a high-flying offense. I think he will help him out. The drama, I think, is going to go away because we know the drama was circulating in Philly, and it wasn't just A.J. Brown. We know Sirianni. We know those players that are in Philly kind of feed off of that drama, and that drama kind of helped them win the Super Bowl, so to speak, the one year that Philly, went on and beat the Chiefs. But, he's another interesting player that I have high on the radar.
Okay, that's fair. And of course, you talk about drama and off the field, blah blah blah. The Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel. That was a huge headline. I don't think that has gone away. Now, Rossini has not resurfaced, but Vrabel is going to have to. If New England, remember, New England got to the AFC Championship game last year, got the Super Bowl last year, and if they do not get back to the Super Bowl this year, or they stumble, there are going to be a lot of questions, and Mike Vrabel will then have to answer questions. And it's not going to go away. And that's the problem with this, because I think Vrabel did a lousy job. I think Rossini has done a lousy job with it. But there are too many questions that need to be answered. And I know that the play on the field will take care of some of this. And, remember, New England's not exactly in a cake division. I mean, yes, they have the Jets. But Miami, and Miami, I think Miami's going to be interesting case this year because of the new coach. But you've got Buffalo, and I don't know if Buffalo is going to regress, but yet they have a new coach there. And New England is arguably the class of the AFC East. But again, time will tell. Really quickly, Mike, before we go to our top 12, which we are going to do this week, get you prepared for drafts. If you got some drafts coming up, we'll kind of give you our thoughts. But let's take a look at the best division in football, the NFC West. And right now, Hard Knocks has the defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. And guess what? They are picked second in that division this year because the Los Angeles Rams are a consensus, if not overwhelming choice to win, to represent the NFC and win the Super Bowl this year. Huge favorites, and the rich get richer. Aaron Donald is
Mm-hmm.
about to sign and come back, and it's going to be one of those huge things that is going to change the way this division is going. It's like, I don't know if it's going to change anything, but it is going to really make a difference with this team. I mean, it's such overwhelming favorites. Now injuries again, that's part of it too. But that NFC West. Oh, let's not forget San Francisco. Although I'm not sold on San Francisco. And you talk about off the field drama. How about the accident with Kyle Shanahan? It wasn't reported for
Yeah.
2 weeks. You know,
Yeah.
I got a problem with that, and something's wrong with that. But what are you going to do? And again, the weak sister out there is Arizona, and Arizona is always the weak sister. And in fact, Arizona, I think, is pegged right now to be probably one of the number one pick. They're maybe the team that gets the number one pick this year, and because what do they have? I mean, yeah, they took the running back from Notre Dame, and they think they're going to give him the rock a lot, but what else do they have? And that
Yeah.
defense is not good.
Jacoby Brissett for that 1 year
Yeah.
deal. But I saw a lot from Carson Beck, which in that Hall of Fame game,
Yeah.
he kind of
Yeah.
had a good performance there, which is kind of good for the franchise, being that
Could he be
is.
the quarterback of the future? Okay.
Oh, he definitely is. Yeah.
Fantasy Sultans move on. Our top 12. And of course, we give you the top 12, the way too early top 12. Now, as we get into fantasy season, we give you our top 12. And because he is the Hall of Famer, Mike, you lead us off. Give me your top 12.
Well, my first round blueprint goes back to the OG of fantasy football. Listen, if I have a chance to grab a running back, I'm going to do it. And in my top three, it's nothing but running backs. I've got highlighting at number one, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. Last season, 243 rush attempts, 94 targets, and that was with David Montgomery in the lineup. Well, Knuckles moved on to Houston, so that means that Sonic will be the workhorse in that offense, and along with Isaiah Pacheco, who is now comes over from Kansas City. I believe he finally really has a chance to show what he could do as the sole running back in Detroit. All right, number two, and I'm sticking with him, San Francisco's Christian McCaffrey. Now, look, I know this is super generous, but last year you cannot take away his numbers. He finished as the PPR RB1 and led the backs with 416 points. Much of this because of his health. It was his first fully healthy season since 2022, and as long as he remains healthy, I believe he has a chance to compete with the best. All right, let's go to Bijan Robinson at number three. Now, again, I'm sure you're going to disagree with me here, and I'll hear your argument why he's the second best, if not best running back coming off the board in 2026. And like the two tandem that was in Detroit with Gibbs and Montgomery, the same applied with Robinson and Algier. Well, Algier is now in Arizona, so I think it only gets better for Bijan Robinson. All right, let's go to number four. And this is where we start getting into the wide receiver territory. I've got Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. Now, you mentioned Joe Burrow with the injury last season, the backup quarterback coming in, helping Jamar Chase's numbers. Yeah, Cincinnati wasn't the greatest, but fantasy-wise, they had some great production. Chase, very interesting player. He's been highly dependent upon good quarterback play, and I think that Joe Burrow's going to have a bit of a resurgence this year. Now, I don't know how great it's going to be. A lot of people are predicting him to have monster numbers this year. We'll have to see about that, but for certain, I think it's going to help out Jamar Chase. All right, I'm going to stay with receiver at number five. Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, last year, he led the NFL in receptions and first downs, and that was just the start. He piled on 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. There's been little change in that Rams offense approach in 2026. So could he challenge Jamar Chase for the best receiver in football? Yeah, it's possible. And it's something that has been watching in the offseason, has been his off-the-field allegations, an assault claim resulting in a civil lawsuit. But it does not appear that he's going to miss any time due to this. And I think he has a PPR gold mine once again this season. Number six, Indianapolis running back Jonathan Taylor. Now, He finished with 362 fantasy points in PPR leagues last season. That was good enough to rank him fourth overall against running backs. That's where I have him on the board here. Despite Daniel Jones later, that injury in the offseason, yeah, he was still able to notch 46 receptions, 378 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Taylor will be the featured centerpiece in that offense once again. I think that his receiving production will give him an extreme high floor. All right, number 7, give me wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba of Seattle. Now, last year, he turned Clint Kubiak's offense leading into the NFL. How about an incredible 1,700 yards and a dominant campaign, which helped his team win their second Super Bowl in franchise history? I think, again, he and Darnold should develop a great connection. Moving on to number 8, Devon Achane, running back in Miami. Now, Achane carried the rock 238 times for over 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now going into the offseason, there was a lot of uncertainty with Miami's coaching hire. Of course, they're picking up Jeff Hafley. He's going to take over from Green Bay, of course. And if you know Green Bay, they dealt many years with competent running backs. Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Jamal Williams, and A.J. Dillon. Devon Achane fits that mold, and we heard Jeff Hafley joking this past week that Achane could get 40 to 45 touches. You know what? That may not be out of the question. So he has got to be a running back you are looking at if you're drafting later in round 1. At number 9, you could be looking at this guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver in Detroit. Now, we already know that the Lions offense can be explosive. Last season, not so much, but he had an absurd 172 targets, which was good enough for second across the NFL. That was with the offense taking a step back. I think Detroit bounces back this season. I think he puts up better numbers in 2026. Number 10, running back James Cook of Buffalo. You talked about Buffalo. They have a new head coach. And I think it's going to be interesting because Josh Allen, of course, he just continues to consistently put out good performances, and yet the Bills just can't get over the hump. Well, in the running game last season, James Cook got it done. He had a career high in both rushing and yards per game. And since then, the Bills upgraded at the wide receiver position. They bring in DJ Moore from Chicago, so that should prevent defenses from keying in on Cook. So I think Cook gets free early and often. Let's go to number 11, running back Saquon Barkley. Now, last year, the warning signs were there. He had a lot of touches the previous season. He almost set the rushing record. And yet it was difficult to duplicate that success. I said it wasn't going to happen, and that was the case. Kevin Patullo, also a nightmare in that Philadelphia offense. He is no longer there either. So I think this is a better situation for Barkley, but I don't think he puts up the numbers that he did back in 2024. I do expect a little bit better of a performance, though. Finally, I'm going to go with number 12. I have an A and a B here. At 12A, I've got Ashton Jeanty in Las Vegas. Now, he has undeniable upside. We had higher expectations for him last season. What wasn't predicted was how bad that Raiders offense was, and it was atrocious with Pete Carroll. I don't think we saw that coming at all, but Jeanty, I think, has a chance to turn it around this season. They no longer have Geno Smith, which is a good thing. Fernando Mendoza will be the quarterback of the future for the Raiders. Right now, Kirk Cousins is probably going to get the keys to that offense for the time being until Mendoza is ready to go. But I certainly think, and that means, not to say that Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback, but I think they definitely do need to rely on Jeanty to get the points, and I think they run it off with him. All right, here's my 12B, and we talked about him. A.J. Brown, he comes over from Philly to go to New England. I think he's like a mid to late round choice for round number 2. Not in my case. I've got him late round 1. I think he's going to put up monster numbers. He's going to help Drake May. I know that everybody's saying, well, New England, there's so much drama going on with the Rossini and Vrabel incident. They could have a hangover from the Super Bowl last season, which is very likely. But in fantasy, that doesn't always translate. The fantasy numbers could be better. I think Brown has a great year.
All right, I do want to ask a question of you. You say it's an A and B for the 12th spot. Give me scenarios. I mean, is it a case of best player available on either of those, or which, if both are available, which would you take?
Well, I would probably take AJ Brown. I think he has
Okay.
more upside. I do like Genti though. I think he is going to be a sleeper pick, but I think Brown has more upside. Yeah, I got him as like a B. If you're in need of a running back, I would certainly go with Genti.
But
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 if
I just thought of something. Remember, if you're drafting
Oh yeah,
12,
you can come back. You
you
can
come
come back
back
with
with a
right,
13th. So there you
right.
go. There's your
There you
two
go.
picks.
That's it.
There you go. That's why you are the Hall of Famer. I'm not. I'm not. You're thinking. You're always thinking. You're thinking there. You 12 pick, you go two back to back. There you go. Boom, boom. There you go. All right. Let's take a look at my top 12. And we'll start off number one, Jamar Chase, wide receiver, Cincinnati. I don't think I need to say anything else. He is one of the best wide receivers. Again, last year, put up good numbers, but Burrow is his guy. If Burrow stays healthy, Jamar Chase will be off the charts this year. T. Higgins also going to have a good year, too, offensively. Number two, and I can't argue with this, Mike, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll go with him as the best running back. And obviously, he is going to be the focal point of that Detroit offense. You do have some other pieces, but it's not David Montgomery. I think what made them successful the last 2 years was the fact Montgomery and Gibbs kind of, you put one in and you're not losing anything with the other. You got, 1 and 1A. Okay. Now Montgomery has taken his talents to Houston, and we'll see if Gibbs can be that one guy. Number three, Bijan Robinson. Bijan got the money. They gave him the contract extension. Of course, Gibbs topped it, but Bijan Robinson is going to be the guy who Atlanta goes through. But my issue with Atlanta this year, their quarterbacks. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, I'm not sure of. We don't know when we're going to see. We don't know when we're going to see their other quarterback. I think the quarterback play is going to hurt Bijan this year, but still, he'll put up some monster numbers because he's that good of a running back. Number four is Jackson Smith-Njigba. I mean, let's face it, Super Bowl champs. He was the centerpiece of that offense. He's another guy who will get paid, but, the thing about it is he's also, if you watch Hard Knocks, he is really a nice guy and well thought of with the team.
Yeah.
So I'll go with him, number four. Number five, Puka Nacua in Los Angeles. Now, he is the guy in Los Angeles. The problem, though, the off-the-field stuff this year, and it really makes me wonder because he may be facing a suspension. Adam Schefter reported it this week. He could be facing a suspension. The off-the-field stuff kind of bothers me because these players, I mean, he was the offensive player of the year last year. Of course, they gave it to him as the defensive player of the year. Jackson Smith-Njigba. They gave it a defensive player of the year. That was hysterical. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yet, Puka Nacua, the offseason has bothered me. Still, number five, he'll get his numbers this year. Again, he could be looking at a game or two suspension for his off-the-field antics. Number six, Justin Jefferson, Minnesota. Now, here's the thing. Even with the issues with quarterbacks last year with Minnesota, Justin Jefferson still put up good numbers. Not great numbers, good numbers. He's solid as a wide receiver. He'll get his numbers. The thing of it is, will Kyler Murray make him better? And I think he will. So there you go. I think Justin Jefferson is a guy that you're going to want to pick at number six. Number seven, Jonathan Taylor for Indianapolis. Listen, he was a monster back. I had him on a couple of teams. He was money. Then, of course, they had the injuries, and Daniel Jones went down, and Taylor kind of tailed off, but still, he was solid, and Indianapolis looks to him to kind of carry the rock this year and carry the load, and if Danny Dimes comes back, I think that's going to help him too at number seven. Number eight, Christian McCaffrey. Now, Mike, you are high on Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
I am not.
Yeah.
I am not high on him because of the fact last year was the first season he had where he didn't get injured. Well, Do you really think you can make it two in a row? The other part of the problem is you've got so much other stuff going on in San Francisco. I'm not sold on Brock Purdy as a quarterback. I don't even know if I would say I was on all over Brock last year, and he let me down tremendously. So I don't know if Christian McCaffrey's going to have that monster year that you think he's going to have. He is still one of the better backs. I've got him at number 8. Number 9, I'm on Ross St. Brown. You talked about Detroit. He is their wide receiver. Jared Goff, good quarterback. This Detroit team looks to rebound, although you've got a couple of line injuries that are concerning. And you mentioned a good point. Is the window closing for Detroit? And you kind of wonder if that's the case. But I'm on Ross St. Brown at number 9. Number 10, CeeDee Lamb for Dallas. I'm listening to the Dan Patrick show, and Dan said something, and I'm going to say this, and my tongue will probably fly out of my mouth. And I know, Mike, please prepare yourself. Do not, have your heart pills ready because you're going to have a heart attack.
Oh,
If Dallas gets any type of defensive play this year, any type, they could be a team that goes far in the playoffs.
mm-hmm.
And I know that's going to shock you for me saying this.
Yeah.
Dak's serviceable, not great, serviceable. CeeDee Lamb is great. This Dallas offense was good last year. The defense was putrid. The defense improves. This team could be dangerous. CeeDee Lamb at number 10. Number 11, James Cook for Buffalo, excuse me. And again, Buffalo, the engine, Josh Allen is going to be the guy who leads them, but James Cook is going to be a main reason why this team is going to go. They've improved the supporting cast and the wide receiver core to help Allen. James Cook, though, is going to be the guy. He's at number 11. And at number 12, I've got Saquon Barkley. And I say this because I'm not sold on Philadelphia. Our buddy John Hansen does good vibes, bad vibes for the Fantasy Guru. And I'm telling you something. I'm getting bad vibes coming out of Philadelphia. I really am. I think last year was tough. They've changed offensive coordinators again. Mm-hmm. This is, what is this, the 4th coordinator in 5 years? Or 5th?
It might be 5. I think it's 5 out of 5. Yeah.
But I mean, again, you're changing offensive coordinators. I'm not liking I'm not liking Jalen Hurts. No. I mean, it's Philadelphia, so they're going to push the panic button and start jumping off the bridge, at the first sign of trouble. This is going to be tough. But Saquon is still going to be solid. I think number 12 on my top 12 list is in there. And there you have both of our top 12. You feel free to use them however you want to. Do not blame us if you make a mistake and listen to us. Because, well, hey, listen, did it cost you anything? No, it did not. So I don't want to hear it.
Tripp, I think this is very, very interesting. 25 plus minutes into the show, and we're not talking about Patrick Mahomes yet. What's going on here? What's going on?
Again, and another one of the stories in the offseason, Mahomes, he's coming back.
Yep.
But Kansas City, I mean, Kenneth Walker signs with Kansas City. He's going to be a monster. Maybe he would be my 12B if I was going to go that route. You're right. Well, Kansas City, but again, Kansas City, look at the division they're in and look who's out there also. I mean, that's going to be a tough division. Denver's not going away. Denver could have been the Super Bowl, should be in the Super Bowl if Knicks did not get hurt. Let's be realistic. So let's move on now to sleepers and busts, or players we're watching or players we're targeting, and busts we are not targeting. I will let you go first, as always, because you are the Hall of Famer. I must bow to you.
Well, definitely for a player that I think is going to be a boom is a Tennessee quarterback, Cam Ward. Last year, underwhelming, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns. But context really matters here in this situation. He was the first overall pick, and that means the team is invested in him for the future. I think that the situation is going to improve. New head coach Robert Saleh and offensive coordinator Brian Dable. For breakouts to occur here, He's going to need an improved offensive line, and he's also going to need offensive weapons. I think both occur here. He's not at the elite status, but I think he's going to be much improved. Running back Bashal Tutin in Jacksonville. Jaguars cleared the running way for Travis Etienne. Well, now they finish number 6 in scoring offense last season. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to be good. But in order for him to be better, I think they've got to hand the ball off, and that's where Tutin comes into place. Let's take a look at Indianapolis's Alec Pierce. I think he's another boom player. The Colts signed him to a 4-year deal. He's not even wide receiver 1 material, but maybe not even Penske file material. But based on his current situation and what they paid him, I think he's in a boom or bust situation. Over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Michael Pittman is gone, so that's going to free up his targets. Like 100 of those targets are going to be freed up. I think the Colts better rely on him and use him. If he is not elite, well, I think the volume alone will explain that situation. All right, let's go to bust, and I think that Kyler Murray fits into that category. A lot of experts predicting a resurgence from him. I am not. The Vikings brought him in to compete, not hand him the keys. I do not think that Murray is going to be the long-term solution for the Vikings. So I'm going to put him in a bust situation. And will it help or won't it help JJ? I'm drawing a blank here now. Not McCarthy. Justin Jefferson. That's what I'm Justin Jefferson. So for certain, I think that's going to be an interesting situation to watch. Drake London in Atlanta. He had a career with a roller coaster. It's up, it's down. The targets have been consistent, but the numbers have not all 4 seasons. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Atlanta. Of course, you mentioned it, Michael Penix Jr., Tua Tagovailoa. I think the situation to watch. Remember last year I mentioned Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And I said Daniel Jones was going to beat him for the starting quarterback. Well, I believe that Tua Tagovailoa is going to beat out Michael Penix Jr. for that starting quarterback.
That's why you're the Hall of Famer and I'm not.
And he's the quarterback in Atlanta.
That's why you're the Hall of Famer. That's it. You're the guy. All right. I'm going to go with a couple sleepers and busts. First off, Omarion, my wayward son, number 1 sleeper, currently skyrocketing up draft boards. Here's the thing. He only played 9 games in an injury-shortened rookie year, but his respectable 14 points a game forecasts great things to come. So he is somebody who you're going to want to take this year. I'm going to also go the Jaguars, Parker Washington. B-Dub has become Trevor Lawrence's go-to receiver in 2025. He had 26 balls for almost 500 yards and 3 TDs in the last 4 games. Former Penn State star dominates in the slot. He's a guy you're going to want to grab. And last but certainly not least, George Kittle of the 49ers, tight end. Now, this advice is for leagues with an IR position because Kittle might not play the first few games while recovering from his Achilles heel injury from January. But if you can draft him in the 10th round or so and get a placeholder tight end like Isaiah Likely or Brenton Strange, then you could put Kittle on IR and have potential top 3 tight end for most of the season. Those are my my boom guys, the busts. And this is where we're going to disagree, my friend. Bashal Tutin for the Jaguars. Given every opportunity to unseat Travis Etienne last year, he was woefully inadequate. He scored 5 touchdowns in true vulture fashion, but his lowly 5.6 fantasy points per game, miserable for owners. Jaguars brought in Chris Rodriguez from the Commanders to compete for the starting running back job. That does not bode well for Tutin. Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs. Here we go again. In the early minutes of week 1 last year, Worthy collided with Travis Kelce, badly injured his shoulder. Did not play well the rest of the season. Now, wouldn't you know, he smashed his shoulder once again in practice last week and was carted off the field. So beware of that. I'm not sure. I want to avoid Xavier Worthy this year. And here's one it might be a surprise. CJ Stroud of the Texans. Quarterback, he couldn't possibly be as bad as he was in 2024. He was. He was worse. Make sure you avoid taking him this year. I am not sure Houston is going to be better this year. I mean, Houston's got a great defense. They get anything out of Stroud, then they're going to be good. Although I have heard people very high on Houston this year. In fact, one of the NFL analysts I heard said he's their Super Bowl pick. He's that Super Bowl pick. So there you go. I don't know about that. But those are my booms and busts for us for this week on the Fantasy Sultans. And here we are. So I guess I will turn it over to you, my friend, because we joked about our 2-day training camp in Myrtle Beach, but unfortunately, it's not all fun and games. And I'll let you take over there.
Yeah, it's with heavy heart that I lost my brother over a month ago. He had a heart attack and passed away. And so you and I had, of course, gotten together. You came up from Georgia, and it was just very surprising to the family. And my brother was a volunteer fireman in New Jersey, among his other jobs, that he worked, and motorcycle enthusiast as well. So again, just a hard situation and very hard. But we're dedicating this show to him today on the Fantasy Sultans, and we're going to raise our glass for a moment to Joe and say, this one's for you, brother. Love you.
Yeah.
And, I could hear him saying, when you went Dallas, because he's an Eagles fan. When you said about Dallas, he went, I could hear him. Dallas. I mean, of course, my father's a Giants fan, and, they, NFC East rivalry there. But I think he has a little bit more respect for the Giants than he does for Dallas.
Nobody respects Dallas. Are you kidding me? Nobody respects Dallas.
I could just
I do want to listen. I do want to say something. It was my honor to come up and spend time with your family.
That.
Your family's wonderful, but I got to tell you, it was so funny because I refer to you as the Hall of Famer, but I refer to you as Mikey. And that's how I know you. That's how everybody on the station. Well, it was funny to hear you referred to as Michael. And then best was your nephew, Uncle Michael. Uncle Mike.
Uncle Mike, yep.
Uncle Mike? What? Now, I will say we are going to have your nephew on first week or second week of the season. We're going to have him on, Fantasy Football Guy. And you got to love the guy because, I meet him first time. We sit down, we have a drink, and he goes, I got to ask you, who's a better fantasy football player, Uncle Mike or you? I said, well, we're the Fantasy Sultans. We share the same brain. Yep. We do the same things.
Yep.
So anyhow, and I hope Joe enjoys this, and I hope the family enjoys this too, because they all said they listened. They were all wearing their hats.
Oh yeah,
it was great. They were all wearing hats. They were wearing hats. We got the hats. We got the swag. Okay, couple housekeeping things. First off, you want to reach out to us. FantasySultans@gmail.com is wide open. You can send us emails. Now, Mike and I have put together a league in Yahoo, and it's a free league. We're just doing it for fun and games. And if you would like to participate in it, just drop an email to FantasySultans@gmail.com, and we'll send you the link to join us. Again, we're doing it mostly so we can get some fodder for us, because, we do have the one league in which the fantasy podcast chew toy, Mac, who's still going to be the fantasy podcast chew toy this year. We're going to have Mac on too. We'll have the usual cast of characters here this year. And by the way, everyone who appears on this show will receive a Fantasy Sultans hat as a consolation prize. Guests of the Fantasy Sultans get a Fantasy Sultans hat.
Yeah, you notice I don't think we said, but we got a little merch
Shirts
in the
too.
off season
Got-
too.
got
We got a
shirts
polo
too.
shirt.
There you
We
go.
got some shirts. Yeah, we got a hat.
We got some
So,
shirts. We got some hats. There we go. Fantasy Sultans.
Busy
Good stuff.
off season. Yeah.
Okay. Now, just so you know, our next show is going to drop on Wednesday, the 26th. We will do, and by the way, that the fantasy league we were talking about will be on Yahoo, and it's PPR league, by the way, and we'll be doing the draft before we do our draft special for the Sultans, which is what we'll do on that day. Now, I'm excited to say the program director made a very smart decision of Fox Sports New Jersey, and they're bringing us back, and we will be back. Our first show will be Labor Day weekend. We'll do our fantasy draft special. Now, the other thing I want to say is because of the Wednesday night game, because there'll be a Wednesday-Thursday game, we will do the Fantasy Sultans podcast for week one. Will drop Wednesday morning of the game at 9 o'clock in the morning. Again, not a whole lot of player moves we'll be talking. We'll be talking about draft recaps and stuff like that, and get you ready for week one. And then we'll go into our regular rotation. Usually, we'll drop the shows on Thursday morning, the day of the games, but that Wednesday is just because of the first game. And obviously, the deadlines are going to change during the season because we'll have a Wednesday night game on Thanksgiving. Excuse me. And listen, the NFL is the reality show that just goes on and on and on, and Mike, before we go, I am disappointed. We didn't get a call from CBS.
No.
Fantasy Sultans are out there. We're ready. We are ready to go out there and do Tom McCarthy, Tommy baby, T-Mac, Fantasy Sultans can work with you, baby. We can work with you. Although I do have to say Ross Tucker.
That was a great
props.
move. Yeah,
Great
props
move.
to him.
Great move for him. JJ Watt, number one. Tony Romo. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. I just, that's kind of one of those things that as an announcer, you got to be very wary of. And he just played it absolutely wrong. You know who I am? No, you don't. You got to play that card. You're in trouble. You're in big trouble. We don't play that cards. No. We're here to help you win your fantasy leagues. We are here this year. We've been here for years past. We're giving. He's the Hall of Famer, Mike Sheck. I am Tripp Rogers. Together, we are the Fantasy Sultans.
And you are not.